Hey friends, today we're going to talk a bit about the FOMC meeting and what comes out of it, because my plan is for this year. So really, this plan where I have to say, I expect this cycle to continue, but I don't want to talk for 10 minutes about the FOMC meeting. Other YouTubers have already done that. Unfortunately, I couldn't manage to make a video yesterday. I was a bit sick, so it just didn't work out. And at the end of the video, we'll talk a bit about XRP. A lot has happened there as well, so this will definitely be an interesting video, friends. I'm summarizing the most important points for you here. We didn't have an interest rate cut, which is probably clear to everyone. This year, there are also expected to be only 2 more interest rate cuts. That's all fine so far. We've priced that in as well. If we had talked about several interest rate cuts here, we would probably have been looking at a recession. So that's actually not so bad. What's important here is that we will have a balance sheet reduction, specifically regarding the Fed's balance sheet. Because right now, nearly 25 billion is being sucked out of the markets each month. And now it's not $25 billion anymore, but only $5 billion. So they've drastically lowered it here. Accordingly, not as much money is flowing out of the markets each month anymore. Very, very good. And you can also see that we are slowly getting closer to the goal of 2% inflation. Otherwise, the Fed would never have allowed this to happen. And that's the most important thing. So just take a look at this. That's just, as I've always said, the reason why the altcoins aren't performing at all. We have had in the last 2-3 years, we keep seeing money flowing out of the markets. If something like that happens, we obviously have no money for the risk assets. But as it looks, we will see in the coming months that not only is money flowing out of the markets, but that we will also be getting new capital back for the markets. That would be the most important thing, because that way we can obviously rise again. Especially this is going to get really interesting for risk assets. It's logical. You have to imagine that just because of these tough phases that we are currently experiencing, we are very strongly correlated with the S&P 500. And it's clear that we will correct so much in the financial markets that we won't really get much of the pie here with Bitcoin and in the crypto market. That we are just really suffering here. That's completely clear. In my opinion, we are in a pretty good position in the crypto market. And what we've seen so far has just been a completely normal correction. We have a long-term support zone here, and we haven't broken through it. That's very, very important, and that's why everything still looks pretty good. We are in a bullish uptrend, and now it's getting exciting. How will things go in the next few months? And that's what we're going to talk about now. And I think that's also what most people here are interested in. Because of course we have several scenarios that could happen. It could be that we already experienced the bull run. In my opinion, that's completely unrealistic. There are still too many indicators that suggest we haven't seen a bull run top. And right now, it doesn't really look like a bubble, because otherwise we would have corrected much more strongly in the last few days. The other possibility is that we might see one last big rally in the next few weeks, or that we escalate at the end of the year, and then at the end of the year, based on time and dates, that we see the top of Bitcoin and altcoins. And in my opinion, it looks the most realistic like this, that we will definitely see a nice rally again by April at the latest. Honestly, I don't really know where we're headed, but we will definitely rise again for now. And then towards May, probably at the end of May, we will correct first, and then stagnate again over the weeks, because we are now experiencing these stagnation phases more and more often. And after that, it could get interesting again at the end of the year. I assume this because we also have an M2 money supply expansion, and Bitcoin correlates pretty much identically with the M2 money supply. And because we have a monetary expansion here, this money will also find its way into the crypto market. And according to the correlation and timing data, we should feel this money in the markets by April at the latest. And that's why I say I could still expect a nice rally because of this M2 money supply and so on. But in May, I still expect more of a correction. And that's simply because we've had sell in May and go away every time in the past. So they always say sell in May and go away, but remember to come back in September. Based on time and data, you can see that it has really worked out quite accurately, quite often. In May it went down, and in September it went back up. And that's why it's quite significant. There are also tax reasons in the US and so on, which is why people tend to sell in May. And during the summer months, people aren't really that interested in the financial markets anyway. That's why, in my opinion, it's most likely that we'll do it again in the short term. See a nice rally, another sell-off in May over the summer months. A bit of stagnation, and then we see another huge rally at the end of the year. And with this huge rally, I also expect Bitcoin locker to rise above $150,000, so that we can then see the altcoin season. We need to get into this overheated area so that we can really see this altcoin season and so on. That's my plan for how I see the next few months. Because I mean, we will soon see an expansion of the money supply again. The M2 money supply is also slowly increasing, but we have to say that it takes time for us to feel this in the markets. It could also be that we start to rise slowly, piece by piece from April, and here in May, we might not see any sell-off at all. But in my eyes, it is now becoming increasingly clear that we are only now getting this really fat one. We'll see the last rally at the end of the year. I don't think it will happen before May. No, I don't think so. I think we'll see the last big rally at the end of the year, and even though we're still stagnating and so on, and that might not be fun for some people, for me it's really not hard to be extremely bullish. We have the US government, we have so many positive things. We're seeing the M2 money supply rising rapidly. We see further interest rate cuts this year, and we see that even the Fed balance sheet, it's not pulling money out of the markets anymore, but is likely starting to inject money into the markets this year. What else is supposed to happen? That's incredibly positive. And I think the biggest part of this bull market will shift towards the end of this year. But basically, in my opinion, will that be the case? The biggest year for the crypto market, I mean, what positive things we have. And all these macro data points are slowly working in our favor. As I said, M2 money supply, Fed balance sheet, the US government, and so on. So we're seeing a macro environment that's more positive than it has been in a long time. But that's starting to happen slowly. Also, the thing with the money supply and so on, that needs to circulate a bit first, needs to get into the markets. That doesn't happen overnight. That's obviously taking a bit longer, just like with the Fed's balance sheet. But when we see quantitative tightening and also see money from the US government entering the markets, it takes a little while for that to reach the markets. But basically, this year could really be one of the best years for crypto in the world because we have just too many components that point to a huge bull market. Then let's briefly talk about XRP. We just have to do it. I mean, we had this massive breakout here a few days ago. This breakout was simply because the SEC lawsuit regarding Ripple was just dropped. Or rather, it was ended. And that's extremely positive for XRP. I mean, we've had this lawsuit for 6 years. That has kept the XRP price down for 6 years. And finally, it's time that we have this behind us. That's really damn positive. Now, XRP obviously has even better chances to cooperate with banks to enter into some contracts and so on. Because, of course, this was blocked here by the SEC. Many banks were afraid or couldn't get involved here. Cooperating sensibly, which will also be really interesting with XP, is that we will be included in the state reserves. Extremely positive, and you can say what you want, but XP looks really, really good from a macroeconomic perspective right now. We have really positive things one after the other, and it looks like the gates for XP are slowly starting to open, and really, congratulations to all the XP holders. It finally looks really positive for XRP after so many years. Yeah, that was just a quick recap on XRP. Otherwise, the market sentiment, and so on. We clarified all of that today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, you know what to do. Give the video a like and leave a comment. And then I would say, until next time, friends.